I am from Saudi Arabia ethnically, and I found it extremely interesting that they are surrounded essentially by countries that had protests or violent interventions in terms of the protests, and they didn't have a protest and they didn't have an uprising. But I found, as I read more through the liberalization reform and as my research progressed and changed, I found that liberalization reform really specifically had a lot to do with women's rights, and it was the most progressive out of out of the other 5 countries that actually were petitioning or protesting for women's rights. What was so interesting to me is that the king, King Abdullah, he passed several reforms, and one of them was that he cited passages from the Quran where it basically indicates that women and men should work together. So he is instituting reforms in which women and men can now work together in a workplace and not be segregated. So a woman can be seated at a cubicle next to a man seated at a cubicle. And so I think that's broadening, job opportunities for women. Also, he, very surprisingly, he passed a reform in which the women were granted the right to vote in 2014 in the municipal elections. And I did some research in terms of analysis on that from other perspectives. And from what I've seen and read, these reforms probably will not change or be retracted.